Welcome to the Scene Weekly podcast, where we harken back to our college debate days and pick two movies at the same theme to hover around sizzling pans of onions and bok choy and throw around words like mastication, which sounds very familiar to other words such as for 16-year-old boy's behavior, but not Steven. This week's episode is focused on culinary delights, with the menu offering itself to the taste of things. Come join Jonathan and Steven for another week of hopefully less plot chatter and copious more film banter. We are Scene Weekly. Welcome to our world. Still getting back into this.
Yeah, it seems like you might have like a little bit of chocolate in your gums here.
No, I just got done with I don't even know what to call it, but I got my ass beat in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and my right here, hard to swallow, hard to speak a little bit. From a baseball choke. I did. My professor, thank you for that baseball choke. That, if you know what a baseball choke is, it does not feel good. It does not feel good now. It's lingering. So I'm going to blame it on that. But I was laughing in my head before I read that line, and I just thought this is hilarious and such an inside joke that I didn't know how this was going to go over. But I should have prepared a little better, or not laughed. Anyway, I'll be doing this the entire time. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I'm a little shaken here because just the timing of everything. You know, like in a kitchen, it's all about timing. And I felt a little out of sorts today with just getting set up. Everything. I don't even have my cup of coffee. I'm drinking some water. It's just, it's a little difficult, but I'm going to get through it.
I feel like in a kitchen, it would allow you, it would prepare you for the haphazards of life. Things come up randomly, and you have to be prepared. So it seems like that would be something you're used to.
It is something I'm used to, and I fail at constantly. Just keeps kicking me in the ass.
That's so funny. So I'm gonna have trouble here swallowing, to be honest with you. That's what she said. The menu and the taste of things. So we decided that we wanted to go the culinary route, and you've been harping on this for, God damn it, since the very beginning. I think it was one of the first items or the first checklists of themes that you wanted to tackle.
Yeah, it was.
And I was like, why are we doing this already? You're in this business, but we're there after 30 something odd episodes. So are you excited?
Yeah, I'm a lot more excited about culinary than compliance. So this is my field of expertise, and I'm just, ready to get into it.
I don't know. I think The Wolf of Wall Street would be a lot more exciting than these movies. No?
That's one movie. I don't know if there's another movie that could go head to head with that. That'd be
pretty much Wall Street and Wall Street 2, and pretty much any financial movie that they're breaking laws. Catch Me If You Can would also apply. All of these movies would be much more exciting.
Okay, well, I didn't think about it that hard.
Yeah, you're just thinking in your own little box of crickets.
Truffles, box of truffles.
I would like a box of truffles. And do you like truffle? Speaking of condiments, do you like truffle? Let's just start with truffles. Truffle anything.
Yeah, truffle anything is good, but it can be overdone. I feel like there was like this time frame.
I'm not saying that. I'm asking you, do you like truffles? Yes or no?
Oh gosh, I mean, can I elaborate on the question a little bit? Is this a debate?
You're immediately getting into the no, though. It's like, do you like IPAs? Yeah, but when it gets too strong, it's just like too strong. No, yeah, it's a very pleasant thing to have. Speak on the positives. I don't care about the negatives yet. Just give me what you like about the truffles.
Yeah, I like the flavor profile of it. It can be a little bit pungent sometimes if it's overdone. What I was saying is truffle fries were this big thing for like the mid 2015 and kind of.
They still are.
They still are, but I feel like it's just over. Okay, truffle fries. You're going to charge me an extra $7 to get truffle fries? I just no thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'll take it all day. I have truffle. I have multiple truffle hot sauces. There's a hot sauce line at Whole Foods. It's just, I think it's called Truff, TRUF. Everything is banging. It's banging. And
okay.
It's like $14 a container of hot sauce. And
That's
do you
just
think I care?
ridiculous.
Not at all. Just tastes delicious.
I'll just,
Why waste
gi-
your life?
give me the Cholula and let's move on.
Cholula's good. If you're a white person, a simple palate, that would be you. Yeah. A cuisine manager with a simple palate. I'm sure you're good at your job.
A cuisine. If it's like lean cuisine here? No, I'm not a cuisine manager. I'm a culinary manager, chef.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yes.
Forgot. I thought you did the cuisines though. But do you like lean cuisines?
When I was maybe, well, not even when I was like 7 years old. No, I didn't like lean cuisine. I was more of a hungry man kind of guy.
They have little like blankets that like heat them up. Are lean cuisine or the hot pockets? Which one do you like more?
Uh, Hot pockets all day.
They
Yeah.
burn your mouth. Like the only thing that burns your mouth like that is the apple pies at McDonald's. Those will
Yeah.
fuck your mouth up, man. That and Captain Crunch. But anyway, cuisine manager over here. What are your thoughts? Like, I mean, in the world, you're as you say, the co-host now, of course, but you are now the resident expert, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, I get to wear both hats today. I get to do the co-hosting job, and hopefully, I'll provide some insight into what it's like actually working in hospitality and a kitchen, and dealing with patrons and regulars and unruly guests and the people that make the food. So yeah, it's a double whammy for me today.
It's. I hope you're ready. I know your mic fell off its stand, and I know that you were ill prepared to some extent. But how should we start this? Would you like to go into the beautiful nature of the taste of things, and maybe we end with some gargantuan nonsense that is the menu,
Well,
or we
yeah,
can vice
let's
versa?
let's get into that, but I want to continue a little bit more of this opening dialogue just about food and the culinary scene. Like, are you a big like? I mean, do you like to go to fancy restaurants? Are you that kind of guy? Because I know, like, when we went to Turkey, one of the things that kind of perked up when we talked about going there was like, let's book a dinner at a nice restaurant. I was like, hell yeah, like let's do it. Like that sounds like a great idea. So I know that you have that kind of interest, but is that something that you're always kind of drawn to?
Yes, I like nice restaurants, but if they were to constantly put things in all the dishes into
Okay,
eggs,
I
and if
got
they were
it.
actually going to do all these other things that like just are too
Answer the damn
extravagant,
question.
yes, of course I like nice restaurants. And I think food is just one of the ways in which human beings can provide, when it has enough leisure time, that is, a stamp of its existence on this world. And I think the ability for the senses to take in, whether a visual, auditory, even, I don't know how that would really play into the cuisine manager and yourself, um, and the various senses that would apply and collectively come together, that is of our palates as well. It's a lovely experience. I mean, I had some seafoam nonsense when I was in a cucumber seafoam nonsense when I was in Greece once, and I was laughing hysterically, and then I ate it, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty good. It's not bad. I can make fun of it and have a good time too. You can do both, but
Yeah.
yeah, I like things that taste good. Inside where I live, it doesn't have very much good food other than Italian, and it's regrettable. Um, Even the pho. If I live in a place that has good pho, I'm happy.
But I mean, look at the bright
I
side.
like,
You're a quick train ride away from like the food mecca of the world. Like you can go,
yeah,
you know
that's
what I
true.
mean?
Yep, when you have a, yep, that is fair. And I will be in the city on Saturday and Sunday. So there's that. Do you like nice restaurants and good restaurants? And I just want a direct answer.
Yeah, I do.
There we
It's
go.
and especially like um, getting into the older years, like when we went to Turkey on our trip, and like it's not like, oh, let's go to this cool bar or this cool whatever. It's like you mentioned like, let's go to a good restaurant, like let's do that. And I'm
Oh,
like, yeah, that sounds amazing. And that's something that I've definitely gravitated more towards my being in my 30s and coming up into my 40s. Like I like to seek out the nice places or the places that are going to be, especially when you travel, the places that are going to give you the true experience of what that culture is. So yeah.
yeah. I started off small, mind you. I not small. I had strange steps when I was in my early 20s, and I was like, you know what, I should travel. And the travel turned into traveling quite abroad and then living abroad. And then that I got a kick out of everything, which has always continued. And then it went to, I don't know what they say is about the finer things in life, but I started getting into coffee very late in life, and that started off, and then that became an addiction. I think I can roast coffee, or I want to start roasting coffee, and then I went into ordering pretty much everything under the sun in terms of coffee, and then I figured out my way to make coffee, and I figured out, I drank pretty much all of the beers and all of the wines to find my favorites, and now it's like on the cuisine side of things and or restaurants, and so I'm trying to find very nice restaurants to go to, and it's fun. It's a fun process to go through all these different types of things, figure out what you like.
Just
You
like
know?
being a sommelier, you're learning that
Yeah.
process too.
Started that on Monday, level 2, and there's no way I'm passing. No way.
Don't
I
sell
just don't.
yourself short.
I don't think I have the time to do it. It just seemed it's a little daunting, but yeah, like the sommelier, which I'm doing entirely for my wife. Hilarious. It's online course. The first part was the first level one was like in person. This was online. I felt out of my element in person because people were introducing themselves. I've been a sommelier, but like I wanted to be a sommelier. I am one at a store, what so on and so forth. Level 2 is like outrage. I shouldn't be there because the people. One guy is like, I'm a master on what's your friend? I don't want to say his name in case he doesn't want to say it here. It's not WSET, it's the other one. Whatever the whatever the
Yeah,
fuck it is.
yeah, WWF, whatever.
Motherfucker's a master on that side, like the
Yeah.
highest level you can get. He's like, I just wanted to see what's going on at WSET, and I'm like, really? Like you? I guess. And then other people are sommeliers for 15 years in Italian, and the details they're giving about their background, I was like, I just want to find a good wine for my wife. Like that's it. It's like I just shouldn't be here. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that, but I these people they're serious people. I'm not so
And
serious.
it's like their profession. Like they're like
It's
working
oh
in a
yeah, yeah,
restaurant.
yeah. All it looked like every single person is a restaurateur or like wants to be a
Sales
sommelier.
rep or
Yeah, yeah,
something.
like
Yeah.
like for real humans. Can't wait to make jokes, and they're not going over well. But anyway, I like good food. It's hard to find good food where I live, and it's disappointing. But
Are you a cook? Do you like to cook at home? Like that's also
all
an option.
every single day, I cook every single day. There's not a day that I do not. That's not true. I cook almost every single day. Yeah. What about you?
I
You
cook
cook at
every day
home?
as well. Not always at
Yeah.
home, but I get paid to execute certain recipes every day, and it is it's manual labor. It is tough work.
What is your favorite thing to cook at work, and table that to what's your favorite thing to cook at home?
That's a tough question. I do I do like making sauces at work. Like there's a Pommery mustard sauce that I enjoy making because it takes a little bit of skill, timing, and just a little bit of craft to it. Um, so I like doing that. Sauces are a lot of fun. Um, I like just the process of grilling. Like we have an open fire wood fire grill, so cooking steaks on that. At home, uh, there's not much of a cooking process for me here rather than making smoothies, oatmeal. Like it's usually breakfast items,
Yeah.
pancakes,
Eggs and beans.
No eggs, no beans. That's a touchy subject.
I I don't cook at work. I guess effectively that'd be cooking at home. I don't think I have a favorite thing really. I really like cooking pastas, I guess, but I don't particularly as much as I get older like eating them and the way it makes me feel. I'm definitely dialed down into a diet. I have eggs in the morning. I have a tomato. After this, I'll have a tomato and onion salad. And then at nighttime, this is going to be constant like aching of my throat. Thanks again, Sifu. Uh, and then at nighttime, it could be very like a ribeye. We like to grill out pretty frequently. I would say 2 or 3 times a week. Um, and a burger has become a go-to like every other week now, and it is. We'll get to that in a second. I want to table that conversation. Actually,
Okay, table it.
becomes very important
Table
later.
number 7. Okay, we'll put it on there.
Table number 7. So anyway, we're 15 minutes in without talking about any of these movies, but Mr. Expert, are you excited? We finally get here.
Yeah. I mean, there's a handful of good food movies out there. Not a lot, but there was a few that I was kind of exploring before I stumbled upon the taste of things. Ratatouille was one of them. We could have gone the
Yeah.
cartoon route. It's a great flick.
Great
And there was
performance.
and then there was another one called Big Night that I watched that I was teetering on checking out for this podcast, but the taste of things won me over, and I'm glad that you picked the menu to complement it as a pairing, because they're two completely different movies and menus, but I think they pair nicely together, like a nice Chianti.
Do you like Chianti?
No, I'm not a big fan of Chianti. It's like an Italian table wine. I don't usually order it.
I love Chianti.
Yeah.
Chianti is one of those like basic wines. I don't know another basic wine that you could just, if you had 20 that were unlabeled, you just choose one of 20 Chianti, it'd probably hit. It'd hit well. But it's
Okay.
not, Chianti's never gonna like crush like a
Right.
Brunello, for example. It's never gonna crush like that to me. But randomly, if you were to just choose like a random Chianti, it's lovely. It's a great addition. You're not gonna go wrong.
Yeah. It's your solid like sixth man coming off the bench that'll give you like 10 points, 2 rebounds,
Yeah,
whatever. Like
yeah.
solid.
It's great. Not great. It's above average. Yeah.
All right. Well, we got the taste of things coming up. You ready?
I have so many notes that this might be hard to get through on both of these movies. So I will try my best to pretend like I am just coming out with these ideas myself. But I have a lot of notes.
Okay. I'm excited to hear your notes. I kind of want to play off of your notes.
Sure.
And we'll kind of go from there. So, the taste of things. It's a recent movie, coming out of France, 2023. I'm going to mess up the name here, but it's directed by Tran
Yeah.
An Hung. He's Vietnamese French filmmaker. This is the only one of his movies that I've seen, but I definitely want to check out some of his other films that he's made. It stars Benoit Magimel and Juliette Binoche, and it's based on an older book out of the 1920s, La vie en la passion de Dodin Buffon Gourmet. Rotten Tomatoes is 97%. I didn't get a budget on this movie. There was no budget listed, but it did about 10.3 in the box. Yeah, and it's a movie about a distinguished gourmand, Dodin, and his gifted chef, Eugene. And they've been living together in the French countryside for over 20 years. And together they concoct lavish meals for themselves and Dodin's foodie friends. Their lives entirely revolve around the cultivation and creation of these dishes. And this film has some of the best long, elaborate cooking scenes. This movie is a one that you just kind of marinate in. You know what I mean?
It is a marinade.
It is a marinade. Yeah,
The whole thing is a marinade.
There's not a.
It's a baster. It's just like basting itself.
Exactly. I mean, this movie opens up with a 38-minute cooking scene. You're transported to the French countryside, and I mean, this is, you talk about like farm to table restaurants. This is a farm to table movie. They are
Yeah.
they're cultivating everything from the garden. They have cows in the pasture that we don't get to see them slaughtered, but they're definitely getting slaughtered. You see the fish guts coming out on the counter, and they did everything they could to like make this authentic to the time, authentic to everything with what they cook with what the kitchen looks like, and they actually used real food in this film. There's no fake plastic foam or anything like that. Like they used the real deal. But yeah, this opens with a 38-minute, very minimal dialogue, except like, hey, give me that pan or whatever it is. But it's just, it immerses you in this world of just this you're in the French countryside and we're going to be cooking for these guests. And you get to understand the dynamics of who these people are and the relationships that are there. With Dodin being the gourmet, the master of the house, and Juliette Binoche, Eugene, being the cook, and they have this beautiful relationship. And then that food and cooking is their love language, and that's the center of this film, is how they bond through cooking, and it's beautiful, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even consider it a movie really. It's just a long shot cooking show.
Of food
Basic.
porn.
It's basically food porn. Yeah, even at the end of it, it's like dizzying. Like the camera just is going in circles.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just like everyone, or I don't want to get to the end of it, but yeah, it's very gorgeous, meticulously crafted shots. I wonder how much oil they got on the camera lens, because I feel like they were pretty close at times, and I was like, "There's got to be a smattering." I was just thinking, I don't know why I'm thinking this. Like there has to be a smattering here,
Yeah, yeah.
And
I would assume so. Yeah.
yeah, especially with like one of the first shots when they're just simmering some stuff. But yeah, like open with the lighting, I thought was gorgeous, and cinematography. Um, I'm not one to, I guess, thoroughly enjoy. My wife loves these types of like cooking shots and cooking shows. I've never really been into like the cooking shows or cooking shots kind of thing. I think it's fun. Maybe like the pace of it is cool. Or was it like, what is that? Not Master Chef, but I don't even know. Where
Top Chef.
squeeze on, where that guy goes squeeze on. My wife
Yeah.
always screams this when she needs something. Whatever that show is, squeeze on. But I've never really been into it. So to be honest with you, it was really boring at the first 38 minutes, and I just thought it wasn't a movie, and we're just waiting and waiting. But the way it was shot was up there. I mean, it's got to be the greatest shot of food in the history of life. Like
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything that was as good as well shot of food than this.
Absolutely.
And that's got to be really difficult with the movement of ingredient. The ingredients are not actors, Stephen. The ingredients are like the movements of everything in the lighting of not just like pots and pans, but everything around in the kitchen. It seems like it would be very complex, honestly, to
It
make those
was,
shots
and
work.
they had to choreograph a great deal, especially with them using real food. And if something came out wrong, or they cut something wrong or sliced it wrong,
Oh
like they had to
yeah.
have a backup. And so they had like a separate like kitchen of things of like,
You got
just
the B
okay,
list actors.
the B-list
All
veal
right, the
chop.
first onion, you're not cutting it. Come in, second onion. What'd you say? The veal chop?
The veal chops, yeah.
I mean,
uh,
how I want to know like how much, like how many, like how much food did they actually go through, and did the people eat it?
That's the thing. Yeah, they did eat it, and they actually
Wow,
they had to literally start unbuttoning their costumes,
did they
and
really?
whatever was left over, the cast and crew would seal up in plastic bags and take home with them, because they're like, this is just so fucking good. Like, I'm not gonna leave it. I'm not gonna just
Who
throw it
was
away.
who was actually like? I guess I mean because a lot of the shots you didn't actually see who was cooking. Was
Yeah.
it the actors cooking, or was it you know? Did they learn how to cook themselves?
Yeah, they were directed. They had a cuisine manager on set, an actual
You.
chef. Yeah, actually on set to guide them for what, during that time period, what would be appropriate to cook and to display. Because, like, I mean, French food, that's part of, like, French food, wine, and fashion. I guess that's like their
Yeah,
cultural identity, right?
for
So
sure.
this is uh, a cool little time peek into that time period. Um, and yeah, I mean, they had to have an accurate chef to give them direction, and they had to learn it. They had to, and it was a dance, like you said. That camera was moving
Yeah,
everywhere.
tough.
There was a lot of like these long kind of like panning shots and things like that. And it was cool. But like you said, it's less of a movie and more of an experience,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
which I'm okay with. Like
Yeah.
I I I like the moments that mattered in the film, and I think the two biggest ones were the setup of that opening shot, where we get to see Eugene Juliette Binoche cook for the men, and then when we find out that she's falling ill and things are happening, uh, we have the master of the house, Dodin. I can't say his name.
Master
I'm
of
gonna
the house, keeper of the inn.
the gourmand. He rolls up his sleeves, he huffs and puffs, and he cooks her a fucking amazing meal. And like that,
Yeah.
those two moments, and especially that moment where he is like, and that's what I said, that this is how they communicate with each other, is through these dishes and through this food. And she's been there for 20 years, and he's been trying to get her to marry him, but she's turned him down because she wants her freedom. She doesn't like the truth of the relationship isn't through a ring and a proposal of marriage. It's through them working side by side in a kitchen, and that's their love. And that's what's really cool about the film to me.
Yeah. It's cool that, his love for her or rapiness wins. Really wears her down after 20 years. That's the feeling I got. I was like, this is very creepy. Like, it actually legitimately, I'm not even exaggerating. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, things were much different back in the day. Um, just men, where myself included, of just these stubborn little creatures on Earth. And I guess that's why we're placed here, to consistently prolong the human race. But fucking A, man, I understand like the women's angst with us, like while watching this movie, and be like, God damn it.
She
Like,
just wants to cook. She just wants to
yeah,
be
just
in,
leave
have
her
her own room.
alone, man. God, like, how many years are we going to be doing this? Jesus Christ. I'll back up though. I've been cooking since for as long as I can remember. I was a latchkey kid, and so like I let myself in if didn't get picked up, for example, by my sister, who has left me at school many times. Shout out, sister. Still love you, but I cooked myself a lot, really terribly. I will say that at the
Except
very
chicken
beginning.
wings.
Yeah, yeah, which is my very first talking point, or it's actually my second talking point after this. But I will say this: so I've been cooking for a long period of time. I'm not a culinary manager of any capacity, but I have made a ton of sauces, and I would consider myself a sauce manager at home.
Saucier.
A
Saucier.
sauce, a saucy. That's one of my friend's nicknames, which is very strange now that I think about it, and it's throwing me off topic. I took two steps, and I was like, I'm going to read some culinary books. I bet you can probably name one of them. You may even be
Yeah.
able to name both, actually.
Kitchen Confidential,
That's one.
Anthony
Hmm.
Bourdain.
That's right.
And Setting the Table.
No. So the next one is, which I thought these both would be up like for softballs. Kitchen Confidential is fantastic. I've never read it, even once. I heard about it. Love Bourdain, and it was terrific. Like, awesome. It made me want to throw out all my kitchen knives as well. I don't know if you remember this, if you've read
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
but he's like, just get rid of all your fucking knives, your stupid little. It's like you get your little small knives, you get your big knives. He's like, you need one fucking knife. He was like so angry in the book, just like really, really mad. And I was like, I just want to throw all these out and just get one nice knife. It's like if you want to cut small things, you cut it with the tip. If you want to cut big things, you cut it with the back. It's like you only need one, you idiots. He went off on about 4,000 other topics, but that, and then I also read. So I understand equally as much as you do, of course.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, restaurants. So we have two experts, and then the second, which I am 75% through, is called Dirt, which is by Bill Buford. And Bill Buford, I don't know if you know or have read Among the Thugs. It's one of my favorite books of all time. One of the master classes in like sociological and I read it while getting my master's in sociology. It's been many years, but it's one of my favorite books of all time. And to get way off topic already, and we're 30 minutes in, but with that being said, he inundated himself. He moved to England to basically become a Manchester United supporter. fuck United, first of all. But he became a United supporter in the 80s. Okay. And he
The
moved to England.
80s.
And so he just went there basically to like kind of follow the hooligans around, just
Yeah,
as we have done basically. And in the
correct.
80s, before things were like, I mean, it was the wild of West, like terrible.
And
And
that's
it,
where the hooligans came from, like,
yeah.
right?
And
That's
then
the
it started becoming a huge thing. And then he just saw himself in like fights and stuff. And like there's just chaos around him. And then one time it basically, I don't want to ruin the book, but it's hilarious, awful, and insightful look into football in the UK that I couldn't put down, and so I picked the dirt up because he himself moved. Didn't tell anyone that his magazine he worked for, his wife, didn't tell the kids, and they're like, I want to become a chef in France. We're moving to Lyon. I'm like,
just like that.
just
Right?
like that, just like that. So it's starting off pretty hot. Like it's like, how much of a more? Clearly you're a moron. But he got a very good book out of it. I'm sure he moved there, A, because he was interested, and then secondarily, he's like, I can probably write a book about this. But anyway, very fascinating. Maybe I'll get into the wide world of what is a culinary manager with you one day. Anyway, that's it. That's all I have to say.
Dirt. I'm going to check it out.
Yeah.
Do you have a fascination, or do you know anybody that has a fascination with ASMR? What? Do you? You're giving me that look.
I mean, so yes, I do, Stephen. And
I bring this up
I
because
feel like this is a very leading question in the sense of like you're trying to get me to talk about mukbangs. Is that what we're getting at?
I don't know if those two are correlated. Maybe they are. You could explain that, but
Everything to do with a mukbang is ASMR to sound of people eating and or cooking. So yes. Like
okay.
I have sent you a clip of
I know.
myself and others watching a mukbang. Mukbang is a Korean word basically. It's people who watch other people eat, and not people. If I were watching a mukbang, it'd be watching somebody else eat. And so this is my handling my phone right
Like
now.
eat
So
Cheetos or eat like
and they
anything.
yeah, and they have the greatest of mics. So you get the of like kimchi, for example. And so yes, my wife falls asleep to this every night. I still think it's just hysterical. It never makes me not laugh. And basically, I love introducing other people to it because like she kind of, I'm talking on a podcast now about it, but she she likes to keep it under wraps. Sorry. But I think it's too good not to be known. And also, if you check out the views of these mukbangs, it's in the millions. Like there are, it's unless she's just like
Yeah,
constantly
it's not a
watching.
small
There's like
cohort.
six people watching this over and over and over. There are millions of people doing the same thing, and I feel like nobody ever talks about it. So to answer your question, yes, I know one human being that intimately knows the nature of eating and listening to food being cooked. And it seems to go over quite well with a lot of people. So yes, I do.
Okay. Well, I mean, the taste of things definitely has that kind of vibe to it. You know what I mean?
Kind of. The whole movie is that.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
38 minutes of it.
Just the first part, and there's more.
Yeah,
There's more
yeah.
later.
Even eating. I mean, it's got everything. It's like one long mukbang.
That's true.
That's
That's
really
true.
what I thought. And then like the side project of love. It's like, nah, let's get back to the kitchen. That's where at the end it's just like here it
Yeah.
is. This is really what we're doing here. But yeah.
Um. Wow. That'd be. I wish I would could have seen this in a theater with like surround sound. Then it'd just been
It would have
terrific.
been nice. My wife would have fallen asleep. This is so good.
Did you watch this movie when you were hungry, like, or did you have a full belly?
I watched it on an airplane. I watched both movies on an airplane coming back from Italy, and I don't know exactly, but I don't think I was that hungry. No,
Okay.
Mm-mm. Yeah, because I this was post Worlds, and I was pretty much eating whatever I wanted at that time. So I have to assume that I was not hungry.
Okay.
This would have been problematic if I were though, because that shit looked good. I mean,
It
like
did.
they could be cooking like anything, and it was everything looked just delectable and sounded great.
It sounded great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know,
No.
probably not because I had to do all the research for this film because it was my film, but the two stars, Julie Binoche and
Hmm.
Benoit Magimel, they were married about 20 years ago.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
they fell in love filming a movie together, and they had a kid and were married for about 5 years and then separated and divorced and didn't really speak much except with regards to, taking care of their child separately.
Yeah.
Um, and this is their first on-screen performance since they were married. And I thought their chemistry was good. Thought it was really good, uh, especially for having a history outside of the actual film. Like, that's tough. It's tough
It
to do.
seemed it seemed like it seemed like what they were trying to do on screen was what they had off screen. Like there was something that was
That life was imitating art, or vice versa.
yeah. They were two magnets not getting close to each other. Like like yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to be with you. And you're like yeah. I could like God damn dude, just give up, man. Like what's going on here? Jesus Christ, you rapist. It's just wild. But I could see that. I felt it throughout the whole. Like I felt awkward honestly. Like by the end, I was like, God, or not the end, but like
It wasn't originally supposed to be him. Like, they casted one actor, I don't know who, and then he fell out of the running. He didn't want to do it. And then they casted another actor, and then 3 months before shooting, he was like, "Nah, I got to drop out." And then the director was like, "Hey, I gave the script to your ex-husband and he likes it. Would you be okay if we cast him?" And she's like,
yeah,
"Well, sure, but he's never going to do it." And he's immediately said, "Yeah, I'll do it."
yeah, that's
And
hysterical. See,
yeah, so
he's just as he is in real life as he is in the
yeah.
movie. Yeah, yeah, yes, yes. I want in. I want in on this. Ah, I'm gonna get her. I'm gonna get her finally. Do you like rosemary?
I do. I like rosemary, especially when it's when it's put on beef and roasted. That's
I
it's
hate
good.
rosemary. Despise it. And so
Oh wow,
I
I
am.
didn't know that about you.
I hate. You don't know everything about me. I think. I don't like rosemary in any way, shape, or form. And so I was reading Kitchen Confidential and I feel like I've overlooked it. And so therefore, I can convince myself of pretty much anything. I'm going to go back to the rosemary and try to work it into my palate because he uses it into fish with thyme and lemon and
Yeah.
some garlic. And it sounded so delicious that I want to try it. There's a way to explain this that was explained to me by my wife while she was taking a break from mukbangs, and she said it gets rid of like the nukie like type taste, which is like like pig has that like oily taste
Right.
to it, and it's kind of like that fatty, oily, like left lingering taste. It's kind of
Got
like
it. Yeah.
it's a part of pig that people really don't like. That's called nukie. Or like fish kind of has that sometimes when it like you don't make it well enough. It takes it basically takes that
It's
taste
like
away.
this lingering oil that kind
Or like
of.
a venison, if you don't
Mhm.
if you don't cut venison meat well enough, it'll have that gamey nukie taste. So she said it gets rid of that, and I was like, I'm gonna open my eyes up to rosemary again, and I'm gonna figure out how to make rosemary good. So anyway, I saw rosemary and I hated myself by watching this movie, but after Kitchen Confidential, Bourdain has changed my mind. He was a big fan of it. So look at that. But anyway, I had pretty much an elongated mukbang discussion that you have just completely like crushed, which I appreciate. I feel like you've seen my notes or something.
I don't see your notes, but I did know that little tidbit. But I was watching the movie and I was trying to like listen for some kind of soundtrack or music, and it was like, no, this is just knives and fish guts and slicing
Yeah,
chicken feet and peeling chicken feet, and I was like, this has got to appeal to somebody, and I was like, this is ASMR. Um, and then yeah, I kind of thought about, and then I saw in the news about this famous mukbanger. He apparently got really, really fat and then like stopped
Yeah.
post or didn't post any new videos, just posted a bunch of old videos for 2 years or something, and then
Oh wow.
revealed the other day that he's like skinny now.
Oh
Um,
wow. That's like
yeah,
I love that. There needs to be a documentary on this. I anyone out there, please make a documentary of mukbangs. Like this would be my favorite thing on earth. I've been dealing with this in a I think it's hysterical. First of all, I think it's so funny. I don't get it. But it makes me laugh every time I think about it that I have a wife that is addicted and she falls asleep. Anyway, have you ever had a bread bowl before? Because bread bowls are so ostracized. Like, and the bread
yeah,
bowl came up early in this movie, and I just thought that's hysterical. That bread bowl, like, it was such an elaborately shot movie, and then just bread bowl, just like, taking out the bread bowl.
yeah. I
You're
mean,
like, we went to
Panera wasn't around back then, so I think this is a kind of a new concept, just like the baked Alaska.
yeah.
Uh, and oh, we can hold this creamy liquid in this codified bread, and it's going to you cut it open, and it's great. Same thing with like ice cream and a flame. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, I mean, you know what, I would like to go back to having a bread bowl sometime. Like that sounds good.
See, yeah. So I agree. Like, I was not hating on the bread bowl, by the way. I love bread bowls, and you're so rookie, whatever. But like, the last time first of all, I haven't had many bread bowls. I'm not a connoisseur of bread bowls. I probably had like two in my life. Each time I've had them were delectable. I will caveat this by saying I was extremely high in Iceland once. That I had 5 dinners in a row, like extremely high end dinners,
Okay, got it.
and then
Not the other
we
type of high.
we ended both of them. I was, to be clear. And my last one was the non high end, and I just had a bread bowl, and I was like, "This is the greatest thing I've ever eaten." After eating like 4 other dinners that were there, I would say were fairly small. Actually, the other one wasn't because it was a high end. It was a hot dog in Iceland, but Reykjavik. Bread bowls are delectable, dude. New England clam chowder in a bread bowl, on a cold day in Iceland,
Can't beat it.
delicious. I have a recording of myself walking down the street after I had the bread bowl. Maybe we can play this. I'll have to see what I have to say. But I was talking to myself on how good the bread bowl actually was. This is how ridiculous. This is devolving, by the way. Sorry for taking this over, but nonetheless, I love bread bowls. So I saw that and I was excited.
As you should be. I mean, it looked fantastic. Um, but yeah, that's the taste of things. Two people working together, making food in the French countryside. You have some proteges in these young girls that have a really good taste and a good palate. They want to develop them. Juliette Binoche dies, pretty sad. And then they have to find, or they search for a new cook, and there's some trials and tribulations there, but he does settle on one and does take in the young girl to learn under her tutelage, and life goes on. That's the movie, man.
You basically were like, fuck it all. Fuck this movie. It's about food. There's some love in it. She dies. That's it. What's up? that's fantastic.
Well, I mean, you kind of threw me off my game by calling him a little bit rapey, because I saw a little more in a beautiful light. But I do see your point, and I'm trying to
I
get.
sh- I shouldn't throw you off your game. Look at that. I'm just saying, like, I just felt creeped out. Maybe I don't know. Just we're disgusting creatures, and we're consistent, but nonetheless, it shouldn't have to ruin your movie. Let's go back into the nice things of life. I had once had a romantic partner, an ex girlfriend of mine, and there's two things. Do you like picnics? Because they were having what I would call a picnic.
Yeah.
I guess my first question to you is like, when was your last picnic, and do you like them?
Last picnic was definitely during lockdown, when you couldn't eat inside a restaurant and we
Yeah.
got takeout. There would have to be a blanket involved, not necessarily a basket, but there was a bag of food in a park. usually with some wine or beer. Um, and it was good. It was a picnic. It was nice.
That's actually pretty good during lockdown, I would say. But was it a date? I want a date picnic. That's what I mean. And let's take out lockdown. That would be nicer because you're talking to a human being. You're seeing that other people. You have a friend
Yeah,
or
I
a
wasn't
partner and stuff.
alone with a blanket and food. No, I was with my significant other at the time. Yeah.
So, but take. Did you have a picnic before that? Like a picnic not in lockdown?
Um,
I
I
want to
mean,
basically even the playing field here because in lockdown anything would have been nice. Like
that's
just
true.
see, like just, you're alive. Talk to me. I've been wanting to talk to somebody. Like I don't want that. I don't like. I don't. My wife and I we hate picnics like passionately, and so like it would be the last of things that I would like to do. But in movies, it's like so romantic and romanticized, and I know plenty of people that really, really, truly enjoy picnics. And
I mean, I think the idea and when it's nice outside and you have a beautiful day, it makes it that much better to eat outside, whether that may be on a patio or on a park bench or on a blanket. It's just very, very nice, and it's one of the simple finer things in life is to just
hmm,
eat outside with a nice breeze.
I hear that. I just think of the bugs. I guess. Um, And I have a second question, kind of in relation to this, because some people can make an elaborate meal for it. But like, what's like the most elaborate thing, cuisine wise, Mister Cuisine Manager, that you have done for a significant other in terms of like creating a meal? Or I mean, have you done that? And then I would like to know what you made.
Yeah, I wish you would have set me up for this question earlier because I can't. I definitely have because I I like cooking for other people. I mean, obviously, like eh, I do it every day, but I don't see I don't get the instant gratification of like, oh, I'm really enjoying this. What you cook for me? Like, no, I'm already at home.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
uh, but I do like that process of cooking for somebody that you love and
yeah,
having them enjoy it. Granted, I'm not going to say any names, but the last person that I was with, I did not cook too much because there just wasn't much of a palate there.
yeah.
Um, but before that, yeah, I like cooking for other people. I think it's nice. Uh, the one thing that I do remember is I had I was in this was before any kind of relationship or anything like that, but I was a high school student and I was studying French, and we had to make a video of us cooking a French dish and
Oh,
submit it to the class. And
yeah.
I had a cookbook and I looked for a French dish and I found le coupe de porc Normandie, which is a pork chop Normandy style, and I
Oh,
cooked
wow.
it, and it's with apples and some sauce, and it probably was horrible because I was a sophomore in high school. But I do remember that, and that was
Did
like
you
my
add
first.
rosemary?
No rosemary involved.
Hmm. I think
Just
I would
some
have liked it.
apples and butter and a pork chop.
What's your
And
favorite apple?
Fuji's pretty good.
You
Golden
like that?
Crisp, yeah, Golden
Hmm.
Crisp or
I
Honey
like
Crisp,
honey.
Honey Crisp, Honey Crisp.
My favorite is Honeycrisp as well. Yeah, for sure. I have two Honeycrisp trees that I actually planted one when we first moved out here 3 years ago in the ground. Didn't realize you had to plant two to pollinate. But it didn't matter because my lawn guy, within I don't know 2 months, decided a weed whacker was gonna be the restful. Basically, he wanted to cure itself of ever living again, so it died. And then I planted two the next spring, and then now they've produced two apples. So next year they should produce a significant. Honeycrisp is my favorite by far. Um, do you think they were actually in love, or do you? We don't have to talk about it. I feel like I have a note here. It's like it's like a late life first girlfriend that you have, and you want to go back to, like J Lo and Ben.
Uh huh.
And it makes a lot of sense now that the I didn't know that their real life scenario is very similar, kind of similar to this, where like either he's wanting to get back with her or like wanted to get with her. I feel like it's like a J Lo and Ben. It's just like this isn't gonna work out. Maybe she's gonna die, but like that's kind of like what I just thought. Like she's like I'm ill. Oh, let's just. I know I'm gonna like I feel a little off, so I'll give in to 20 years. of trying.
You twisted my arm enough. Yeah, I got that.
Yeah, I
Um,
felt like that.
they were. I mean,
Yeah,
she was in her autumn years. They were both in their autumn years,
yeah,
as they said. Um, but I think the real thing was is yeah he wanted her as a partner and wife, and she already saw him as a partner, and cooking for him was just it was enough.
yeah.
You don't need more than that.
Have you ever cooked for me? I don't think I've cooked for you. Maybe I have. No, maybe
You
not.
you gave me a recipe in college that I followed for quite a while because it was cheap, and it was just basically elbow noodle Italian dressing pasta with jack cheese, and that was pretty good.
Mozzarella cheese is really what you should use. But
No, it was mozzarella. You're right, mozzarella.
yeah,
I haven't looked at the
yeah.
recipe in a while.
That was created probably when I was a ninth or 10th grader, and still to this day make. I have changed it up. Wishbone Italian dressing is way too sugary for
Paul
me or
Newman's.
sweet. Exactly, the Newman's olive oil and vinegar is what I use now, and I don't use mozzarella. I tend to not even put on the cheese, maybe some parm, but still in the household to this day. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but how about the menu, my friend?
Oh, we're gonna move on
Are you
to the
done?
menu.
I mean, I
I
feel like my rapey
yeah.
comment threw you off, I guess, and you just went into like this is what the movie was about. She's dead, okay? She
I
died, and he got what he wished, okay? And nothing was the same after it. Now, what's next?
I will
Can
point
we
out
get to the encore?
I will point out that I do like the device or the small story where the prince is coming in to have his chef make a meal, and it's 8 hours long, and it has no direction, and it's just there's flavor, but it's not constructed well, and then Dodin is going to come back with a meal, and it's basically beef stew, and I'm
Yeah,
going to do it perfectly.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that kind of segues a little bit into the menu.
Perfect. Things are never perfect, though. With that being said, but I like the seg way. The menu is an interesting one. It's um, it's a movie that's entirely up my alley, and one in which I pretty much, if there were a genre, I don't
I
know
feel
if
like
it's
your alley is darkly lit, full of full of some homeless people and
dangerous.
shenanigans. Dangerous, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
dangerous. It's a danger
yeah.
alley.
One in which I don't know what's going to happen, and probably something, some place that I would like to travel to. Not now, maybe necessarily. So I'd like to see other people travel to, maybe through a mukbang, possibly. But I really enjoy that horror comedy, dark humor type of thing. I don't know what that thing is. Like Cold Pursuit is another one. I please don't watch that movie or look it up because it might be one of these for yous. But I really enjoy it. I can see why people would not though. But the menu, runtime 107 minutes. I don't know how to say this guy's name. I even listened to it once. Still have no idea. I feel like he added an R on there, but it's Mike My Lord. That he said at least. My Lord. And the year of 2022. So very recent two movies actually. This movie, which I've seen now for the second time, this feels like it came out like 8 years ago to me. I don't know why. Maybe like the lockdown. Like I was like 20. No, this came out like a decade ago, but it didn't. Rated R, horror comedy. I mean, this is a type of genre. It's like kind of hard to place, but I would say,
Satire.
yeah, 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, 30 million budget, 80 million box office. And the synopsis is about as simple as you can pretty much surmise. Shocking surprises await a couple when they travel to a coastal island to sample a chef's lavish menu at an exclusive restaurant. And that's it. But I will preface it with two things. One in which um, this menu movie in the restaurant itself, wow, where it's shot is different. It actually exists. This restaurant, so there
Oh,
is
really?
yeah, there is a restaurant in Norway
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
where
I
you
do know it.
can travel to and eat at. And so this man, the writer, whoever the screenwriter is, or somebody who was associated with the movie, it's a screenwriter or Mark, traveled to this movie and was like, dude, like, what would happen if and then it started with like a bad idea, like what would happen if this? And he's like, no, what would happen if like we were trapped here and the chef was just like this maniacal like, and then like that's how this built. It was like we can't get off the island kind of thing, and then it
Yeah.
turned in ultimately to the menu, which I find hilarious. I will say this: I didn't even know this at the time, but when I went to Sweden, my friends Nanny and Eunice actually came to watch me run, and they traveled to Oslo afterwards, and then they were like, "Hey, we're taking a boat to an island to eat at a restaurant." And I'm like, "That sounds awfully familiar." I
Uh,
have to watch the menu like literally in days from now, like 2 days later. And I was like, wait a second. And then there were pictures of them like eating, and I was like, what is like? I feel like life is a simulation. Like this, like clearly this is just an oddity. Like that, it wasn't even mentioned. Like hey, like after this, we're going to where the origination of the idea of the menu came, and I was like, seems like that would be something I would tell somebody. No, I
yeah.
feel like it would be like, hey, guess where I'm going, and that didn't happen until they were getting on a boat, and I was like, this is the weirdest thing ever. But they had whale tartare that was actually delectable. They said they loved it. So they actually ate at the
Is
restaurant.
is
Yeah,
that is that ethical? Whale tartar?
I've had whale before, tartare as well. In Iceland,
Okay.
is it ethical? I mean, I guess it depends on what are ethics, anyways, these days. But it's an interesting movie, and basically, I off the jump for the second time watching this, I was like, am I supposed to take this movie seriously? Like, it just puts you immediately into like John Leguizamo. Basically, is like this movie can't be taken seriously. Like, I'm just not
It's
going to
not
take this
supposed to be
seriously.
taken seriously.
No, but
But it
yeah,
presents itself as a serious film, at least to a point,
yeah,
right?
and anything that's metalogical to a particular extent, I'm going to very much enjoy. So the making fun of John Leguizamo's like actual career inside of a movie that is making fun of the character John Leguizamo is playing in his actual career in that movie as a character, I was like, I can get down with this. So like he's cheesy, like oh my god, everyone's gonna know me, like just getting off the boat and things like this, like
Yeah.
oh blah blah blah.
And he says, "I know the chef, I know the
Yeah.
owner." That's what everybody says.
How many people and I that was one of my major questions to you, like how often do people either come to you and say that? I don't know how often you're speaking to people now, but like in the past, in your totality of your experience, how often is that actually said?
Uh, quite more than you think, especially for people that are in that feel that they have a certain privilege.
Yeah,
And I find it hysterically funny because of the idea of like, well, because I know who I work for and what kind of person they are and what kind of ideals they have for their guests, and the,
yeah,
the groundwork that we have. And when somebody I remember one time I had to tell this person that it was going to be about a 20 to 25 minute wait, and it got to 20 to 25 minutes and we still didn't have their table ready. I'm like, I'm so sorry, we have a few tables paid out, we're waiting for them to leave. And he's like, this is just unacceptable. Like, I know the owner, I'm going to give him I'm going to send him an email tomorrow just telling him about how this you can't give me a table right now, blah blah. I'm like, okay, feel free to email the owner,
yeah,
we'll get your table ready soon. Like, it's just mind-boggling because it's like, I know you don't know the owner. Like,
yeah.
there's no way here, and then you're just trying to leverage that into getting a table 5 minutes sooner. It seems almost childlike.
But it's funny because like even if they did, they're not going to get a table sooner.
No, I can't make one grow out of the ground. It
Yeah.
doesn't.
Have you ever
It
made
doesn't.
one grow out of the ground? Like, okay, we're just going to put a table here, or is that illegal? Like you've maxed out the patrons that can be physically
Yeah, you
possible.
max them out. You don't. There's no space. Like, it's managing food is a lot easier than managing guests.
Oh God, yeah, because it doesn't move. Sometimes it does when it sizzles. Yeah, I would have a very very hard. I'm not the guy to be like, if I were to be told that, it'd be like okay. Okay. And like, you insecure fuck. Like, get out of my face. Like, what are we talking about here? Have some goddamn patience and just chill out for a second. Like, the table's gonna I've never I've never been angry in that situation. And if you are impatient, then leave. Choose another place, which I've done plenty of times. Like 20,
Plenty of
25 minutes,
times.
I'm out. Like, I'm not going to wait any
But
longer.
Jonathan, you got to realize, like, yeah, these people are angry, but they're also hungry, and that makes them hangry.
Me,
And it's a
I don't
very,
care.
very, it's a combination that reduces people. Like you reduce a pot of cream, they reduce, like I said, to a child, and they stomp their feet, and it's just, and then at the same time, I have to be hospitable. It's a
Yeah,
very
I
delicate
understand.
balance.
I don't get hangry, so I don't really understand people that do. I just get hungry and I'm like, oh, I'm hungry. I need to eat. So I have a few things. One of the lines that came off very early, and one of the lines that actually rings true to me, what I'm doing in wine, and people explaining wine, at least in WSET level 1, now level 2, and something I'm going to have to do. Oh God, it's gonna make me feel a little weird. I understand it because as human beings, and I think especially from a palate level, you can refine this, but I would say on the whole, people really don't know what the fuck they're tasting. And I mean this by like a coffee level. I think once you get in, I didn't really understand like what is good or bad coffee, and then I'm starting to understand it a little more. But I am very much still a beginner. But like, I kind of know what I like, and I think there are standards to understand what you like, and can be applied. I imagine you're understanding where I'm going with this, but like, you can apply this to wine, and I think wine is the most complicated of the efforts. But food, like the difference between a garlic clove and tasting of like a burger is very different. It's very vast if you were to have one or the other. But the tasting of red wine is like very complicated to understand, and so if that's why we give it an association or like a standard for which you're assigning it, like, oh, this is a bell pepper, or like it could be like a Cabernet Sauvignon. So like, you're understanding it through the association basically, and I think food, you need the association a little less, but ultimately when things are presented in a way that is almost taking away from the the food itself, or the experience, I guess, to some extent. No, I shouldn't say experience. The food itself. It becomes the quote, which is fantastic. This is the base camp of Mount Bullshit. And I was like, that is exactly what this is. Like, when you ever, like, the seafoam I had, the cucumber seafoam I had, I was overlooking in Santorini, fantastic restaurant, by the way. To be honest with you, the seafoam, while tasty, it was like worthless. I didn't think it actually really added. But some of those items you have at very nice restaurants are just the absolute epitome of the base camp of Mount Bullshit, which is hilarious because that's what this movie is, just the making fun of all of it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a movie that is presenting the foodie and the food culture, and the idea of this chef as an irreproachable godlike figure. That
Voldemort is the best, by the way.
Yeah, Ralph Fiennes. Um, he's fantastic. But the person that we get to see this through is Anna Taylor Joy,
Yeah,
who is not supposed to be there,
yeah,
apparently, as we learn. Um, but yeah, it's a critique, and it's a pretty scathing critique on how we idolize prestige food,
yeah.
uh, high-minded restaurants, and
And
the
the people
ilk.
who make it, yeah,
The people who make it, and the people that seek it out for exorbitant amount of money. Um, and I mean, you get that first inclination on that. What was that one dish was
the
the
emulsion
no
is slightly split. Is that what
the
you're
no
talking
bread
about?
the no bread
Oh yeah,
yeah, the no bread sauces, I guess. And it's just hilarious. It's like, of course people were going to be like, oh well, this is what he's trying to communicate to us
modern
through
art.
not having, yeah, exactly. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, you need sustenance.
you also
That's
you also need something besides an idea. And so like, you ever hear about the randomness of people who like left, they accidentally, I don't know why they would do this, but somebody, their shoe fell off and it just fell off in a museum, a modern art museum, and they just
Yeah.
left it. And then like so people like surrounded, like, what is this? Oh, what do we have here? And they like started taking pictures, and like some dude just came back and like picked it up, was just drunk. Like everything
People try and
doesn't have
find
to be
meaning.
something. And I
Right.
understand why people try to find meaning. It's fun. Poetry is fun. Poetry in the sense, like I think I wouldn't say this is poetry, but like we have too much time on our hands. I think it goes back to the leisure part of things. Like we're not worrying about like lions eating us anymore. And so we have time to get in our own brains and we want to make significance of this life. And I think the totality of the combination of that and, you know, the sanctimoniousness of the end of life as well, of like, this has to mean something kind of thing. And like, I'm going to make it mean something also. And then assigning again this food to be a justification for our own existence to some extent. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. That's what I think that modern art is or does. But it also overlooks the fact that we do need to just fucking eat. Yeah, we need some
Yeah.
sustenance. And whether your ideas are not going to fill me up. Um, it's just like this is never going to work, you know. But the menu, it's hilarious because as each like you realize what's happening from the very get go. I mean, these people are placed there. They're immediately you're not on this. You basically want everyone actually to get murdered, like
Well, and there's no really redeemable character
none.
in
Yeah,
in the film.
except the person who shouldn't be there, and
Right.
and it's abundantly clear that like we're rooting for her to get out, and even like throughout the entire movie, you're like, I don't know what's going to happen here. But I will say this, like it reminded me of the South Park episode with the Yelpers when I don't know if you've seen it, but you can imagine
I don't know it, but I can imagine.
Cartman
Yeah.
Cartman becomes he understands that he can get free food and has a lot of influence by, you know, giving rave reviews or bad ones. And so basically, as you might imagine, like businesses are going out of business and they're coming to him to for his authentic, of course, and outstanding reviews. And so it's exactly like this. It's like these people are the bane of the existence of this world, basically. And I think ultimately, when it comes down to it, we are doing the same thing to some extent. Like we're sitting here critiquing the movie, critiquing food, and we're giving our own little take on it, right? I mean, this is modern art to some extent, maybe to a lesser level. We're not doing it for money or fame or influence, but I guess ultimately, if we ever become popular, maybe we would be. And we could be critiqued as well for providing and downplaying and denigrating all these two movies in and of itself. But with that being said, these are my opinions. And they could be also the opinions of the individuals in the menu, like the emulsification was off. It was slightly split. Well, maybe people have they've gone so down the rabbit hole. Like I've gone into coffee. They've gone so down the rabbit hole of coffee that like only almost perfection will suit their needs. And I think there is a joy in saying fuck it to everything and being like, I just want a goddamn burger because it will fill you up. And what honestly is better than a burger? My thing that I had after 4 months of not eating anything but grass and eggs and basically things that are for performance. The first thing I had, I immediately after chugged 3 Heinekens, I went to a place called the Barn in Sweden, Gothenburg, and it was a burger that looked almost identical to the burger of this movie. And I had it may not have been the best burger I've ever had in my life, quantifiably, I'd have to have a variety. It is the best burger I've ever had in my life. It was
For
unbelievable.
for what it did for you.
No,
If
but I legitimately there was 3 other people who said the same. This was the best burger we've ever had. So shout out the Barn. I mean, it's got 4.5 stars on to all you Yelpers out there. Bringing it all back here. So the Yelpers clearly have agreed with me here, but it was unbelievable. So I get that. I went to 11 Madison Park, for example, and I had I had dated a girl who was like a what do you call fancy servers? I don't. There's some escalated server, but we had like a 12-course meal. It was crazy. That was literally my joke about eating out of eggshells. I ate of an eggshell there and just like was like scooping stuff out. It was fantastic. It was unbelievably fantastic, but the emulsification could have been split to some people. You know,
Could have been split.
if you
Yeah.
have that every single day, that becomes your norm. What's next?
Where's the
Do you know
next
what I
level?
mean? Do you know what I mean? Like,
You're chasing something that yeah.
so I actually do not fault. I don't fault the people, to be fair. So although they might be pedantic, I understand it to some extent because I myself have been there to begin with.
But I mean, we also have this character that Anna Taylor Joy is Nicholas Holt Tyler, who he knows what the game is stepping off the boat.
And how this is my main question. Like, how is this possible? Does he, and like, so I actually take the perspective that he knew all along, and he does think it's going to happen, and he's excited for it because
He is excited.
I want that to be like, because at one point in the acting of him, he's like, yeah, like there's, I don't know, maybe there's an out there, but I actually wanted this to happen. It's a big modern art piece. The whole movie is to him, and he's there for it. And I think, to be honest with you, like eventually everyone kind of gets it and was like, yeah, like got one
We're
over
gonna
on
die.
us. Yeah. It's like, yep, this is it for us, basically, which I appreciate to some extent.
I mean, probably my favorite scene and the kind of the cringiest scene that I watched, which I like because it really made me feel something, was when he had Tyler come up here, put on a chef coat, have you make us something. You're such a big fan.
Yeah.
You speak to the dish and you critique the dish. Can you actually do it?
Yeah. That,
And he can't.
see, I disagree wholeheartedly with this sentiment. I know what you're getting at, and I know what he's getting at, but I still disagree. Just because, like, a critic can be a critic, just because you can't make like you're the fucking pro. It's like saying somebody can't like a 4'6" person that cannot dunk is like talking about, hey, maybe your left elbow was a little outside and it should have been a little in when you're shooting a 3-pointer. You can fucking have that opinion. And maybe you can't shoot 3-pointers yourself, but you understand it. We had a coach in college that was just a fat fuck and decided that he wanted to coach running. He wasn't a good runner himself, but he could still do it. I don't have a problem with that necessarily. So, but to downplay the fact, like, I think it's like a black belt. Like, it's like a black belt talking to a white belt in Haruki-min karate, for example, whatever your karate was. Like, hey, like, oh, you black belt didn't do this. And then the black belt be like, oh yeah, let's fight. And then beating the shit out of the white belt and being like, see, it doesn't prove anything. Like, I don't think like, it's an insecurity that's coming out. I think all of the people who are rating the menu and that restaurant are insecure to begin with. They're clearly insecure. They all have their own vast insecurities, but so does the chef. He's insecure himself. They're the entirety of the movie. The whole thing is about insecurity. But I think,
it's something when you put your art out,
yeah,
it invites people to criticize it, to people to evaluate it, for people to digest it and give their own opinions, which is what we're doing here. Yes, you're putting it in the meat grinder, and what comes out could be a pile of shit or it could be a beautiful burger. Doesn't matter. But I agree with you. Yes, like you can have a fat track coach teach running.
Yeah.
But if you have this one character who he makes it his whole life to study, analyze, and comment on this, you would think that he would have some levity of skill.
Yeah, that's fair.
To do something.
Yeah, that's fair. That's why I kind of want to roast beans to see what it's like, to see if I can actually do this to some extent. Yeah, I mean, at some point when I tend to like something so much, I will myself try it to see if I can make it better or more suited to what I like. Yeah, it seems like he could have made it at least once or twice, see what's going on there. But with that said, I mean, it's just tough making fun of him. He hasn't perfected it. He understands it and what
It
he
is.
likes.
He's picking. Yeah, he's picking on a fanboy.
Yeah, yeah.
What can you do?
But I
You
just
pick up.
I just love how things devolve and the people just embrace it. Like for the tortillas, it's like at that moment, it's like, the financials of a company or in fraud is happening and it's printed on a tortilla, people cheating printed on a tortilla. It's like, what is this? Oh, I don't know what this is. It's it's honestly so fantastic because I kind of like in real life I wouldn't want these people to be murdered, but like the thought process of it for a movie is so fantastic. Like Alejandro Jodorowsky is just would probably absolutely adore this movie thoroughly. And I think all of us internally, you may not like the movie, but you like the fact that these people are getting it, because like we're tired of these people. Like, and there is a certain platitude, or there's a certain reception that people get from outlandish reviews, and it's like you just don't want to be like, yeah, the food was good, and I think they could have used a little more seasoning on this. Like nobody gives a shit about that, and so people know that, and they just Gene Baudrillard and the idea of language and going to the extremes, and so like
Yeah.
people have just kind of taken it another step, like and then just gone to the intimate details of it and trying to break everything apart. And then once you break everything apart, you have nothing left. And it's like, yeah, you can take that the fact that the rosemary was cut between a springtime that should not have. I don't know, like you could create something in your review that makes sense and is derogatory and also shines a light on you for being cute or creative or like a new idea and you're instinctively creative, and that makes you special. I think that also becomes that insecurity. But it's gone too far with the reviews for sure. Like everyone on social media, basically, which is like an iteration of this, everyone on social media should have a social media account and should like post what they're doing throughout the day, and they're all important. Get the fuck out of here. Anyway, I'm going off on too many
No,
diatribes
it's
here.
it's good. It's just it kind of goes back to the what you said about people being Yelpers. I remember when I lived in Austin, there was my roommate at the time was a certified elite Yelper. I still don't know what that means, uh, but she got invited to a swanky dinner party at a restaurant,
See, yeah, this is
and
why they do it.
I'm like, why would a restaurant invite these people that criticize and just find any which way? Because like when you Yelp something, like most of the time people want to air their grievances. They don't The passion doesn't come from they love it. The passion comes from they were charged something that they shouldn't have been, something was overcooked. Not all the time, granted, but a lot of those times that's where people go to air their grievances. I don't go to a nice restaurant and be like, oh, the first thing I want to do when I get home is sit at the computer and just type away about how much I loved it. Nobody does that unless you have something like a screw loose.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a really good point. I uh I can't say I've ever written a Yelp review on any restaurant, actually, for that matter. I don't think I've ever I don't maybe I've written a couple on Amazon that were just atrocious. One in which that was good, but I've never. Yeah,
and granted, I do appreciate the 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 crowd of people that kind of elevate a place because it is good, and that can be done through just star rankings or whatever,
yeah,
and not telling me their specific experience that maybe could have been just a one off, but at the same time, like eh, I don't go into Jonathan's house and while he's doing his compliance work and review his work. But
yeah,
people
yeah,
come into my work, and if
yeah,
I
yeah.
have something that goes off or something that is wrong, it's all for there to people to
That
see.
sucks. I mean, I guess it's a good thing, but it's like, could you imagine if all of life was like that?
I mean, they're trying to make it like that in parts of Asia. I feel like China,
I mean, like
like it.
like everyone's job was like that, and everyone gets to just evaluate and review it. Oh my dear, maybe it'd be like Neuralink. Everyone's just in your head, just
That
telling
sounds
you
awful.
yes, telling you exactly how you feel or they feel. There's one moment, I forget what's the man who's like the extreme food critic. I can't remember his name. I mean, they're all food critics,
Uh,
but the guy
yeah.
that basically is the reason. God damn it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But the bergamot tea comment about so shit was going down and like people's fingers are being cut off and like just injuries are happening and clearly it appears that they're not going to get out of there, and he still is in that zone of like praising the chef and wanting and desiring of that adoration from the chef. And so when he's coming over and basically expending himself and talking about bergamot tea, and then he goes after it's basically saying everyone's going to die, and then he goes, "It is bergamot tea,"
It is
and
bergamot tea.
his eyes light up, and he's like, "I was right." And he's like disregarding everyone's going to die, and it's just like you could see it. You'd have to go back and watch the movie, but it's like he just felt like
That was his
accomplished,
validation.
and that was it.
Yeah.
He from there on out, it doesn't matter what happens. He could actually die. He wanted to prove himself, and he did. And then if everyone gets murdered, he doesn't give a shit. And I feel like it's kind of how some people are these days. By the way, big fan of The Frenchman. You ever heard of The Frenchman? Where you eating your meal and smoking a cigarette at the first time, cigarette while you're eating.
It sounds awful.
I may have like created that the name for this, but The Frenchman seems to bode well. But big fan. Big fan.
Do you talk about how sometimes you want movies to just go darker, go dark? Did this movie hit that sweet spot for you?
Yeah, yeah.
Sure did, huh?
It definitely went far enough. Yeah, it definitely went far enough. I did not want if yeah. I'm glad she got away, and there was one person who was she's eating the burger at the end on the boat. That was fun. But if she were to not make it, I'd be okay with that too.
Yeah.
I'd be all right with that. Sometimes accidents happen, and also like it was interesting because like there was a meticulous plan was made for every iteration of what was going to happen. However, she was not a part of those plans, and things did happen to change on the fly, which I actually appreciated. It felt like, you ever seen Sleep No More? I've seen it
Nope.
twice. You ever heard of it?
I've heard of it. Yes.
It's a
Haven't seen it.
scripted, so it's based on Macbeth, and it's in multiple stories in like an old factory in, I want to say like 26th Street in Chelsea, I think, in Manhattan. And I went once when it was first starting off. This was, man, it was 12 years ago, I want to say, or maybe even more, 15. I don't even remember, but I've seen it since. My wife did not like it. I loved it because it went into like that deepness, like what the fuck is going on, and I'll explain it to you. And it feels like this movie, and I'm glad you mentioned taking me there. It's an adaptive play, if you will. I don't even know what to call it, to be honest with you, but Sleep No More is what it's called. It's based on Macbeth, and there's, I don't know, probably 8 or so actual scenes that exist, but you can't watch them all at the same time because they're in different areas. And so
Got it.
you can sit down and you can get as close as you want. You can get in the scene if you want. Like for example, there's a man sitting in a bathtub. I don't know what would happen if you got in the bathtub with him, but there's nobody there to stop you, and you're wearing a mask. So it's kind of like some Eyes Wide Shut type of shit. And it's very creepy. The whole ambiance is very creepy. The whole setup is very creepy. I loved it. I still love it. I went back to see it, and it seems like somebody likes it because they're watching it. But I really enjoy the concept of it. Like one of the shots, there's like strobe lights and like just like a huge orgy happening, and I was like, what is happening here? And then you can just walk in and out. Just random people are just doing, like, actors are doing normal things, like just writing in a notebook, and you could be over their shoulder, like looking at them and what they're doing.
Yeah, I think you told me about this where you push the limits a little bit.
I was like, I'm gonna get into this. I was the only. I'm sure there's thousands of people who've gone and done the same thing, but I was like, I want to see how far I can possibly go, and without like preventing the play from actually existing, because I didn't want to be that guy, but I wanted to see how far I could take it. And so like like somebody threw his jacket down on a bed. I laid down on the bed. I put his jacket on, and I was just hanging out. Just like moving around. Like bed was pretty comfortable. Someone else like was drinking what appeared to be whiskey. I hopefully didn't. I glad I didn't get herpes. Now thinking about it. Put it down. I drank from it. It wasn't actually whiskey, just to see like what it was. Some people were writing in a book, and I would try to flip the page, and they didn't really push back on that. But after a few of those times, I think there's like probably cameras like watching you, and like, we need to get this motherfucker out of here.
This guy is in trouble. We didn't plan for this one.
So eventually, what happened? There was a girl who grabbed my hand, and I think they just wanted me to get the fuck out, or that's my assumption. And I went to like a back room, and I was like, this feels like either I'm going to get murdered or there's a lap dance happening. I don't know. Like this feels kind of like that. So she sat me down in a chair, and there was a fan blowing, and then just like did a little dance for like 3 minutes, and I was like,
That's weird.
What's happening? And then just opened the door and didn't say a word, and I guess I was like, I guess I'm supposed to go, and then I left, and that was it. Those rooms are probably available for people who are assholes.
The asshole room. Yeah, that's you.
But that's how I felt with this movie to some extent. It was one of those immersive modern art pieces that I actually really truly enjoy. It was lovely. And also, I guess the last bit is like, how far would you like actually take it yourself? Like until you start biting people's faces off, you know, like start actually trying. Like if you're gonna die, like when do you just start murdering the folks like being invited there? When do you start killing people? Honestly, like
you know, you're trying to escape. Yeah,
I would. You don't have any like tools. You'd zombie them. Start biting their face off.
There was that one like element in the movie where you thought, okay, they're going to be rescued by this Coast Guard. And the Coast Guard comes in and like kind of does this like little charade and this play of like, oh yeah, what's going on here, blah blah blah, and then he's in on it too.
Yeah, that's tough.
They're all gonna die. But yeah, it made me want a burger. That's for sure.
My friend Hashim, shout out Hashim. He's watched the baseball podcast in full. He immediately after this movie, when it came out, he said he went home and he's like meticulous in his efforts to do stuff. He made that burger as best as he possibly could.
How'd it turn out?
He sent a picture. Excellent. I have the exact recipe he used, and I think there was a lot of people who did the same. I think there was like an article in one of the major newspapers about it, but I liked to end it, I guess. I love the ending. I love everything about it. I love the idea. It's just like everything a movie I love. I like weird twisted things, but I think overwhelmingly most people probably wouldn't terribly enjoy this, including my mom and probably my whole family. But with that said, what I found funny at the very end was somebody's trying to get away, like, can you save me? And like, what school did you go to? Brown? Student loans. No, I'm sorry, you're dying.
Yeah, you're dying.
It's like one last hurrah. Like, can we not be s'mores? Well, it turns out you can't. But I like the kind of embrace at the end of like not fighting back for the sake of the movie, that they didn't fight back because they're like, yeah, we were cunts. Yeah.
Just turn us into s'mores.
Yeah.
I also like the idea of presenting the chef, Ralph Fiennes, and giving us a glimmer of his backstory, because everybody starts somewhere, and he started as a burger cook, short order burger cook, right? And that's how a lot of people start off in restaurants. Is you start off on the bottom rung, you're a dishwasher, and you just kind of learn your way as you grow. Not a lot of people, granted, there's a good amount, but not a lot of people excel in the industry because they, throughout their whole life, they didn't do any grunt work in a kitchen and they went to culinary school and they became good. No, like they found their passion by doing the grunt work and learning the craft and then being able to do that. And then going back to the burger, I love how they kind of tie it all together.
No, I like that the most, and I still am up in the air on like her deciding that she wants a burger and she wants to take it to go. I like the concept that it's not like a guarantee, and like it was kind of this modern art piece of like Sleep No More. Kind of it's moving on the fly. He allowed her to live or didn't, and maybe it was part of the like things were still moving, but I something is wrong with me. I don't know, but I think something is wrong with a lot of us. It's just a movie. I certainly don't like to, if I watch the movie constantly of like killing, like actual killing, and like they were not, I shouldn't say actual killing, like they were depicting actual killing of war, and like I wouldn't like to watch that. Like that was hyper realistic,
No,
but
this has
the
a
things
this
that
has a
the territory of like separation of like actual reality. If you have a separation, I can take that pretty much. I can pick that. I can go to the most creative elements of my brain with you, but as long as there's a slight separation there, I'll
right.
go
Like
I'll go
they
anywhere.
didn't decide to at the end, make a kibasa out of all the guests. Like
Yeah.
they did s'mores, and that's kind of funny.
Even then, I would
And
laugh. It would be funny.
yeah, but no, you're right. Like it does kind of get into this kind of campy, cartoony, uh, not all the way, but like there where you can kind of have this like this level of seeriness but laughter. A good satire does that. So
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun overall. I Speaking of, I'm starting to get hungry now, honestly.
yeah, pho.
And why don't we
That's what I'm
get
going
yeah,
for.
ooh, yeah, baby. We went to in Atlanta recently. We went to go to a Vietnamese restaurant that was not known for pho. I did not know this. We went to the restaurant, had some pho. Pho wasn't very good. My friend, your friend too, went. He's a teacher. He went back to class. He's like, yeah, I went to this Vietnamese restaurant in Atlanta, and I had pho. And he was like, oh man, you really missed out. So the Boluk luck, I guess, was the way you should have gone. But anyway, why don't we get to the ratings themselves? Are you rating yours right now?
No, my ratings are done.
Why don't we get to it? And by the way, we'll go into next week's episode after we do the ratings, so that'd be a lot of fun.
Cool. Um, so let's do the taste of things. I for me, this movie, like to me,
Yeah,
beautifully shot.
yeah,
Food, like we said earlier, food porn. Um, Not much of a movie, like per se, quote unquote. Oh, here's the plot. Here's the stakes. Here's what's going to happen. Like, no, no, no. This is like we are just putting you here. Enjoy the ride, and I love that. This is a movie that
yeah,
like I would literally I thought about this because I purchased it. I'll just
yeah,
put it on my TV, play some jazz music, cook in the background, and just have it play. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah. That'd be that. Yeah,
But for me, this might be high for you, but it's a
yeah,
90.2.
yeah. I don't care what I don't. After Clerks, I was dead inside to your scores. Well, actually, it should have been actually week one where I still am actually, if you go back, shocked to Planet of the Apes. After that, I was like offended by. I'm like, you're an idiot. You're like quantifiably an idiot. And then after Clerks, I was like, teach their own.
Certified.
You gave Jaws a 97, and I gave Shawshank Redemption 97. So I don't give two shits anymore, and that's why we're here together. Our scores combined, and we make one even baby of a score to to you fair listeners and watchers. And by the way, shout out, we're going to be creating a website here in a second where you can actually find all these scores. Myself, we'll have a section. We're going to have my scores. You're going to have Steven's scores. You're going to have the collective. And hopefully, in our best way possible, we can have some merch that you can actually purchase, as well as Spotify links and anything that's in association with Scene Weekly. And if you have any ideas for engagement, if you guys want a Discord for whatever 50 people are watching potentially here, please let us know, and we'll pretty much create anything you like. This is the hardest movie for me to score by far, and it's one in
That
which
makes
that like
sense.
yeah it I don't know. I guess it's the standards for which like we're actually scoring this. Because it's weird. I don't know. It's still weird to me. I gave it an 81.75, but like the directing and performances are through the roof, which is
Yeah,
weird.
yeah.
So it's like and then everything else, especially the screenplay. The screenplay is like very,
Non-existent.
yeah. So like, it's not really a. It was, I don't know. This is the hardest movie I've had to score yet. So like, the score is a score. It's kind of like, one taste, everybody knows the rules. Dave Portnoy, and like you got to stick to it. But it's like, this is a little more nuanced of a take. It's hard to explain, but if you were to watch the movie and then sit back and be like, that makes sense. And then you could also take the stance of like, if you gave it a 99, you'd be like, that also makes sense. Like I get it. So it's like, I don't think you could ever give it something below an 80. It would to anyone. With that being said, yeah, I'll go through the menu. The menu is kind of almost the inverse of that. I just like movies that put me in this mode. So I didn't think it was a 90 effort for me, but I gave it an 88.55, to be honest. Maybe slightly high, but I think for a normal individual, but I think that it's any movie that makes me uncomfortable, I'm going to give it a higher rating by far.
I like that
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
And
Anything that challenges me, I will always give a higher rating to.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the taste of things, there was not much to challenge you intellectually.
Watching it was terrific though.
Yeah, just feast for the eyes. For me, the menu. This is a movie that I have recommended to people that haven't seen it. I think it is darkly twisted and has a great storyline and plot. And the acting performance is solid, good. I think Ralph
Yeah.
Fiennes was great as the cook, and like him and Anna Taylor-Joy are the main two that I like. Can't really think too much on how the score and the audio went, but beautifully shot. I love the set design. It's an 85.15 for me.
Yes, we got basically 85.97 for Taste of Things and 86.85. So similar movies coming from a very different perspective.
Very different.
My neck, I'm going to see my professor in a second, and we're going to go for a run together, my second run of the day. And I wish there was a similar way to make him hurt the way that I hurt. Like I want to like, all right, we're going to be doing like hill sprints here in a second. And you're like, I'm going to fuck this dude up. But anyway, it was a fun week. I didn't realize how many notes I had taken on the plane when I had watched these two movies. I may have been hungry, to be honest with you.
Did you have some wine on the plane? A little bit of liquid courage, yeah?
Yeah, I think that was I don't even remember when I came back, but I thought it was the last wine I had. But with that being said, what do we have next week? We have a special one next week.
I'm a little lost on are we filming out of order? Are we doing martial arts next week? Like what's the timeline here?
Oh, are we pushing recovery movies?
Well, we talked about next week is going to be recovery on the last podcast, so I just want to be I want to be transparent in our time frame. But we can. I mean, this is our fucking podcast. We can do whatever the fuck we want.
Nobody's listening as of now, anyway. But next week will be next week, and we'll have two movies more than likely for you to watch, listen, and depict and break down.
Join us next week,
and keep an eye out for our website. Should be kind of fun. I hope
it will be fun for sure. At Scene Weekly.